A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, here for you for the next 2 hours. A new month, March the 2nd. As the year progresses, before you know it, it'll be the end of the year. As you can see, the Black College Sports Network in their 25th year. You can see where you can visit and choose how you would like to support the work at the Black College Sports Network. Guest menu for today, of course, the regulars. Charles Edmond, Wheeler Brown is back, and hopefully we may be joined by Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway was under the weather, but right before the show, he was trying to set up to join us. So, with that being said, here's simply what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern University basketball, both women and men, look to finish the conference and the season on a strong note and a winning note. The NCAA Rules Committee is expected to vote on a recommendation to allow coaches to player communications plus other changes. iPad, 2-minute warning, kind of more leaning toward becoming more like the NFL. We'll get into that. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Then, last but not least, Southern University baseball. Early season struggles. Just right now, this is a team that's up and down. I understand they lost a lot, didn't have a lot of experience coming back in some areas of the team. But right now, this team is very up and down. One quality win, that was against Alabama State. Should the Jaguar Nation be worried? Or is it just too early to even make an assessment? Picked to finish third in the Western Division. Right now, at this moment, it could be a struggle for that prediction to come to fruition. Third place in the Western Division. That's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Bringing now Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. And Charles, you sent me a text that you were ready to go. You're in Texas for the Texas two-step, but we'll get right into it. Southern University basketball last week. You challenged them once again, and quite honestly, you always challenge them, and then it seems like something happens. Just a theory. But with that being said, Southern University, both women and men's basketball team, dropped a home contest to Grambling State University. On the women's side, in front of 4,689 fans, the best attendance for the women so far this season, they drop a 2-point decision, 59-57. Now, you look inside the numbers, Charles. Grambling State, they shot 46% from the field, Southern 36% from the field. From behind the arc, 37% for Grambling State, Southern University, 45%. Then from the charity stripe, 58% for Grambling State, 66% for Southern University. Pencil in, third quarter, Grambling State outscores Southern 14-5, 14 points average. But the troublesome number is 5 points in the third quarter for Southern University, thus 59-57 loss. And I have some notes here. Third quarter, 5 points for Southern University women. Not good. Late game action by Southern University. And to a certain extent, you kind of question some of the coaching that was going on in the players, but you got to finish. Could have been a foul taken for Southern University's coaching staff. But then, you get and you hate for a call to be made And that call cost Southern University, and Grambling State goes to the free throw line and hit two free throws, and they get it done. But what do we always say? You don't let that one play in the ball game for you. But with that being said, Grambling State got it done. Coach Simmons comes back, and she shot a video saying, "Coming back home, this was so sweet." I'm paraphrasing. Um, for on the men's side, Southern University 63-57. Once again, as in Grambling, Louisiana, Southern had a 17-point lead at half. In Baton Rouge, they had a 14-point lead at half. Grambling State outscored Southern 40-20 in the second half. Jaguars lose by 6. Shot a text to Coach Johnson, told him to keep grinding. They still exceeded my expectations. His text back was missed layups and free throws. And look, some people say, well, Southern, they're not a big team. That's only going to be changed by recruiting. But this basketball team, if you look at 3 of their losses, they were winning in all 3 games. Bethune-Cookman, which they have this afternoon. Grambling State twice, with leads going into the second half. And then a 12-point loss to Texas Southern. Size can be corrected in the next recruiting phase for Southern University and next season. But free throws, 7 of 14, 50%. You hit about 80% of your free throws in spite of losing that big lead. Hey, you win the ball game. But this team, Charles, has exceeded everybody's expectation. Picked to finish 5th. Yes, I understand the Jaguar Nation. You're disappointed. I'm disappointed. But the best is yet to come. And I still believe in this staff, and I think they just got a tremendous staff. Charles, pick 5th, still can finish 2nd, run up, and then you still have the tournament coming up very shortly. What say you, Charles?
Yep. I'm just wondering, when it comes to Southern and Grambling, you lose 2 big leads, and you talked about the size deficit. And I'm sure Coach Pettaway, if he comes on, can expound on this. And I've heard coaches say it sometimes with some teams it's a matchup issue. And I wonder is Grambling just a tough matchup for Southern for 40 minutes? And you just wonder that. You blow 2 double-digit leads against the same team. That's troubling. And, you've blown leads. There have been a lot of teams in this league this year that have blown leads. Alcorn has lost 3 games in which they've blown leads. So that's kind of a trend throughout the whole conference. And so once you get into the tournament, if that happens again, then that's even more frustrating. But look, I think, and I reluctantly picked Southern. I wasn't very comfortable with it, but I felt like you make the adjustments the second go around. You're at home. I expected a big crowd. You just gave the attendance. And I just think that Jaguars, again, a big game with a lot at stake, first place at stake, didn't get it done. And now I will say that there have been times in which Southern's won big games at home. Alcorn, Mumford, they've done that. But for the most part, over the years, it's been a struggle against the top teams. This past season in football, Florida A&M. You had opportunity, big home game against best team in the conference, and you had a chance last week. But I think, yes, is the best yet to come. Yeah. But Carlos, you're a fan. I'm a fan. It's hard for us to look ahead. And the one thing I'm learning in talking with coaches and even talking with fans is no guarantee that you're going to get back there. You got to enjoy the moment while you got it. Just ask the 49ers. There's no guarantee the 49ers are going to get back to the Super Bowl. There's no guarantees. Yeah, you make adjustments. Yes, you look forward. Yes, you get bigger. Yes, you get tougher. But you got to figure out what you got to do right now. And that's where the Jaguars are right now. And look, the schedule's not going to get any easier for Southern. Now you talk about where they are right now, and I got the standings here. They're 10-4, a half game up on Texas Southern. They're a game up on Alcorn, and right now they are a game and a half up on Bethune-Cookman. Southern will probably finish in the top 4, but they still have to go to Alabama next week. And I think they'll take care of the Florida teams at home, but you're going to have two desperate Alabama teams. One of them's probably not going to make the tournament. Alabama State or A&M, if you look at the bottom of the bracket. It depending on what happens with Prairie View today, we can knock Prairie View out of the tournament altogether. And if Alabama A&M wins today, then your 8 teams are set. Prairie View's out. FAMU's not going to make it. Valley's not going to make it. Your 8 teams will be set after today. But if that doesn't happen, Alabama State and A&M still have a chance to make the tournament, and you go to those places next week. So I think for Southern, they've got to figure out a way to get back on track. If there's a time to kind of stumble a little bit, it's right now, because the tournament is 11 days away.
Mm-hmm.
Got to figure it out, because you worked too hard. Just a week ago, you were playing for the regular season. You could possibly slip to 4, and who knows who you're going to be playing? Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, who knows in that first round? And so you worked too hard to get to a high level in your first year. And you had the conference's best player. I don't know if Joseph is going to play, or we don't know what the status is. But I think now, you've lost 2 in a row. You've got to figure out a way to get back in the win column and maybe get your best player back, if possible. I don't know. You would know? Nope.
No, well, Charles, to be honest with you,
It's done.
Yeah, because we kind of talked about it last couple of weeks, and I know that has been a concern. Where is he? But from a discipline standpoint, you cannot let that happen.
Yeah.
He could have a chance to maybe come back. That'll be up to the coaching staff, but you have to move on. To be honest with you, and and Charles, I know it. If you're just tuning in, it kind of seems like it's bleak, but I take the other situation. Once again, to me, they have, and I'm talking about Southern University, and we're talking on the men's side, they have exceeded, I think, all expectations. Are you disappointed? You look at the last 3 or 4 years, they were in a position going in first place, going into kind of the not even the last third, but close to the end of the conference season, and they couldn't finish in the same situation. So I'd rather be, and as I sit back and look at it, take the emotions out of it, the last 3 or 4 years, including this year, first year coach and staff, they are still in the conversation. They still have an opportunity. Yeah, now, if they don't take care of business the last 4 games, they could fall back, but at least to be in the conversation where they have a chance to get their goals, and they've exceeded one of their goals. As far as finishing in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's from a reality standpoint, it is what it is. They've got to finish strong.
Yeah.
They really have to, and then you have a tournament play going on the road next weekend, but they can't look too far ahead. They've got to take care Saturday, Bethune-Cookman, and then FAMU on Monday. But once again, and we'll see what people in the chat room, how do they feel? Have they exceeded your expectations? And where do you look for this basketball team to land? And then where in the next 4 games can they win 3 out of 4? Can they win 2 out of 4? They've been right there. They've been right there against. And by the way, let's give credit to Grambling State University. They are the better basketball team. But then you look at it, Charles. On the road and then at home, you have this team by double digits. So it's not like Grambling State is a whole lot better than Southern University, but they are an experienced team.
Yeah.
They have a coach that's been there quite a while. He's built a very good program. So I don't think Southern's that far off. And then, but then Cookman, you have a chance to remedy that loss, which you lost in overtime, and you had that game,
Yeah.
and you just couldn't finish. So this team needs to learn, and it'll come with experience to finish. They need to increase their size, and that'll come with recruiting. But everything else, this team's in a very good place.
Yeah, I mean, Southern's clearly one of the top three. If you talk about top third of the
Mm-hmm.
teams in the league, Southern is right there. And to your point, let's give Grambling some credit.
Mm-hmm.
Grambling, I mean, they haven't won the regular season yet. They haven't officially sold it up, but most likely they will. But this Grambling team last year, they finished tied
Mm-hmm.
for first with Alcorn. And if it wasn't for a shot in the final seconds at Grambling last year, Grambling very well could have been the 1 seed last year. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think they're coming back with a purpose. And when you win the regular season, there are several games, 3 or 4 that kind of stand out. We had that last year, the Grambling win, the 2 wins in Florida, the Texas Southern win on the road. And Grambling has had some big wins, beating Southern twice, as you mentioned, come from behind. And I think for me, what stands out for me for Grambling is they had a rut in which they lost big at home to UAPB, had to fly to New Jersey to take on Jackson State in that HBCU Classic, won that game coming off a UAPB loss. Then they fly to New Orleans and bust it to Alcorn and play maybe their best game of the year against the Braves. And I
Mm-hmm.
think those games right there, that little stretch, because I figured Grambling would be a tired bunch, a little road weary, long flights and all that, but Grambling didn't even blink. So Grambling had those big wins, and I think that has propelled their confidence. You talk about Coach Jackson. He's done a great job at Grambling. Remember, a few
Mm-hmm.
years ago when Grambling was on probation, they won the regular season. So I think this
Mm-hmm.
team has been against the wall for off and on, but they seem to fight through it. And this year, they haven't blinked. They've been pushed around. They've had some bad home losses, but so have we.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost some bad games at home. And that's part of the reason why we're not in the conversation as far as the regular season winning it a third time. We have a chance at a top. We have a chance for 2, but Southern controls that. We have definitely a chance at 3. We got Texas Southern on Monday. And I think, Landon Bussey kind of gave up on the regular season, not saying give up in terms of just on the season, but he knew that after losing to Grambling at home, the regular season was out of reach. But we're the hottest team in the league right now and playing well at a very good time. So there's a lot of moving pieces, clearly. Southern's going to be in the conversation. Grambling's got to earn it once they get to Birmingham. You can't sleep on Jackson or Bethune-Cookman or UAPB for that. You can't sleep on any team, even the Bama teams. Alabama State or A&M could still slip in depending on what happens with Prairie View. So I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about. And I think every team can be dangerous. The hottest team is Alcorn, but anyone can come to Birmingham and get it done. And case in point was last year when Texas Southern just crept in the tournament and they won the whole thing. So I think it just shows you again just how much SWAC men's basketball is on the up and up. And even on the women's side, I mean, Jackson State, look, Jackson beat us last week. And it was a 20-20 game with 2 minutes left in the second half, and they go on an 8-0 run. They lead by 8. They beat us by 8. That in part was the big story last week. But Jackson State, they, a little chink in the armor, you can get them if you slow the game down and really get some stuff done inside. But hey, Southern University, it's a struggle against Grambling. I picked Grambling to win that game on the women's side. I just thought they were the better team, and they are the better team. But Southern University, I think we said the same thing about the Lady Jags last year. And look what happened. They won the SWAC tournament. So it's who knows? I mean, I don't have hair. You have very little. And you're just head scratches a lot of times.
I don't have any, Charles. I don't have any. I don't have any, but at least up there.
In dealing with all these SWAC tournaments, this is why I look the way I look right now, because I don't have any hair right now. I've scratched it all out, but it makes it exciting, and we'll just see what happens. I think the good teams will bounce back. I think Southern's women's teams will bounce back. I think the Jaguars will bounce back, and just you want to play your best, be injury free, and have a high level of confidence going into the tournament.
Well, we have some questions coming in. We have Willa Brown. coming up, what I will do, I will take a timeout. When I come back, we'll bring in AD Willa Brown. Grambling State on the men's side, 3-game winning streak. Alcorn, 5-game winning streak. But don't forget, Texas Southern on a 3-game winning streak, and it's that time of the year. On the women's side, yeah, JSU has the number 1 seed locked up. Now, everybody else, you're positioning yourself for seedings, and then the tournament is coming up. We'll take a timeout. You're watching the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you there.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Also, my JBN1 live on Instagram as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification to let you know when. And we come in. Yeah, we can hear you, Willer. Can you hear us? Yeah, I'm trying to get Willa set up. But welcome back to the Coles Brown Show. We were kind of talking men's basketball, specifically Southern University. Let's go to the chat room, Charles. And there's a question for you. What team matches up best with Grambling's men and Jackson State's women?
Ooh, that's a good question. Good question. I think the Braves can match up well, of course. I'm going to throw a flyer out there that I think no one's talking about, and that's Bethune-Cookman. If there's a team that's scary to me, and we just got by them 2 years in a row at Daytona, if that's Bethune-Cookman, I think that's a team that could definitely match up well with Grambling. Of course, Alcorn, but I'm going to throw a flyer out there. I think Bethune-Cookman could match up really well, and that could be a matchup in the semifinals, at 4-5 matchup with the 1 seed. So I think Bethune-Cookman on the men's side. UAPB is going to be without a couple of their players today. I don't know what their roster is going to look like. From what I read just this morning, Green might be back for the next road trip for Alcorn when they come to Alcorn next week. For Jackson State, I'm going to say if there's one team, I'm going to stick with Southern University. I think Southern University, the way they slow it down a little bit, I think Southern can match up well with Jackson State. Now, we did last week. We brought the game down to a crawl. 2020 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. That's kind of the way you want to deal with Jackson. You want to slow it down. And we did that, but then Jackson hit a couple of threes. We had a couple of turnovers and an 8-0 run to end the half. It was 28-20. We lose by 8. But I'm going to say, as far as Jackson State's concerned, just watching them last week, they're deep. But I think if you slow it down, take the bigs away from the bucket, I think you got a shot against Jackson State. I really do, because we did. I know I know Carlos. They're deeper than they've been, but I do think if you slow them down a little bit, make them guard, make them play through the shot clock defensively, and knock down some shots and get them on their heels, I do think you have a shot. And I think Southern kind of proved that a little bit in the tournament last year. They look good. They're undefeated. They're 14-0. And I saw Tamika Reed's record. Somebody posted it on Twitter. What her record is over the last 4 years in conference is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But in the tournament is what we talk about. And so in the tournament, they didn't get it done despite what she's done in the regular season. I know Tamika Reed, she wants to get back to the big dance. But I think Southern University, and look, if we get in, we're going to be an 8. We have a shot to get in. We control the opportunity to get in the tournament. We're a half game behind Bethune-Cookman. We got the tie break. If we win out, we're in. And even if Bethune-Cookman stumbles, we don't necessarily have to win it all the last 4 games. But I think the way we played in that second quarter, for the most part, and slowed the game down, I think we have a shot. So I think Southern University, I would say Lady Braves. If UAPB isn't full, and we don't know if they're going to be full by the time they get to Birmingham, I think it's going to be very tough for them to match up with Jackson. But if there's a couple of teams out there, again, I'm just throwing a couple of flyers out there. I've seen these teams. I do think Southern University, in a tournament situation, 1 game, one and done. I think Southern and Alcorn. Grambling, if they go up tempo, yeah, they can run Jackson out of the gym if it gets to that point. So I would say those 3 teams, as far as I'm concerned. But if there's one team I would go with, I would say Southern University.
Well, let's see. The question was, what team matches up with Jackson State women and Southern University men? Wheeler? I'll just be honest. Jackson State has proven themselves to be very good. So, I just heard Charles' opinion. I'll give mine. Based on this season and last season, yeah, I would agree you could put Southern in there. UAPB, they defeated them, but they were not at 100%. Let's see if they're at 100%. They have a shot. But the women's side, the best team is Southern University. One,
It's
two.
going to come down. It's going to come down to coaching now, Carlos.
Well,
This
if that's the
time of the
case,
year,
so
as you
Tamika
approach
Reed.
the playoff time, that sort of thing, is who can impose their will in terms of imposing their will on their kids to the point where they totally buy in on the game plan, on what it is we need to accomplish, that sort of thing. I've always said come playoff time, especially from a basketball point of view, it's about half court offense and half court defense. You have to be able to dictate the tempo at all times. You can pretty much throw the fast break out of the window, so to speak. Everybody's looking to cherish each and every possession as they come down the floor, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. And those teams that can get their kids to buy in to that particular philosophy, those are the ones that's going to come out on top. So I hear what Charles is saying. And I think, like he said, there may be a chink in the Jackson State women's armor. Can they adapt and adjust to that kind of pace? And we all know it's easier to slow a team down than it is to speed a team up. So, I mean, if I'm game planning for the playoffs, I'm looking to slow those folks down. I got to slow them down. We got to take advantage of each and every possession. We got to move the ball from one corner to the other corner and back again, prior to us taking a shot, unless we got a clear open lane to the basket. We got to run plays in order to get our shooters in position, to score. We got to hit the boards hard. We got to box out. I mean, all the little things that you're teaching the kids during practice and all throughout the year, you're really harping on as you get into the last few weeks of the season, as you're getting ready for the playoffs. So, I think, as Charles was saying, I don't know that there's a clear-cut favorite. It's those who are going to be able to impose their will. And, I think your men's coach has done an outstanding job this year. First year, I mean, there's no doubt about that at all. You guys have been in the conversation from day one, which I always say is where you want to be. You want to be talked about. You want folk to know that you're here, know that you're in the house. And I don't think there's any question that they know, that you guys are in the house. And, I think, the program is only going to move upward, as coach starts to get more players in and, kids start to buy in a little more to what he's trying to do, that sort of thing. So as you look back over the recent hires, that sort of thing, I mean, I'd have to give you guys at least a B, if not a B plus, in terms of pulling the trigger on that one based on where you are right now. Now for some people, nothing short of a championship will be enough. But I just think that, for the time that he's come in a short period of time, he's had to work with the kids, that sort of thing. I think you can see that they're buying into who he is and what he brings to the table. And you just can't beat that. You can't put a price on that.
Yeah, well, I agree with that part, especially on the men's side. On the women's side, I'll be remiss but not saying Grambling State. I put their women in there as a shot that can defeat Jackson State. But Jackson State women is clearly tops. I mean, they have been consistent. They've had a few scares. I put them as the heavy favorites to win the tournament. Will they do it? We shall see. Last year, Southern University knocked them out of the tournament, but that was last year. Now, on the men's side, who matches up the best with Grambling State? I think that was the question in that part. Who do you think, Charles and Wheeler? Who do you think, Charles?
Well, I mean, of course, number one, I'm gonna go with my Braves, but I'm taking myself out of it. I'm taking my. I'm
take myself
out of it, Carlos. I have to throw that in there. I'm gonna throw that. I'm gonna take myself out of it. I'm gonna take my purple and gold hat off. And just,
wait a minute, you're gonna recuse yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that first and foremost, just to put it out there. But stepping back from it, I think if there's one team to me that is just, I keep coming back to. I just keep coming back to Bethune-Cookman for some reason. No one is talking about, but we haven't talked about Bethune-Cookman the whole year. And that team, to me, they got shooters, they got size, they've got, and because of the fact that you don't pay attention to them, when they get it going, They're one of the best 3-point shooting teams, and it's about defense in the postseason. So you got to slow that down. But Bethune-Cookman, to me, is a team, and I think Grambling just got out of Daytona, just like we did. I think that's one team in a postseason in which there's no pressure, because there's going to be pressure on Grambling. Grambling is now the hunted. I think last year they were hunters, even though we were the 1 seed, they were the 2 seed. But I think they're going to be the hunted. So everyone's going to be shooting for them. But I think if there's one team, to me, I think it's Bethune-Cookman.
Oh, I guess the first team would pop up to me would be Texas Southern. Very dangerous. They're playing well right now. I mean, Bethune-Cookman, I understand. They good program, good coach. But they have to prove it to me. But that was your opinion. You say Bethune-Cookman. Anybody else? I can think of several. Southern, albeit, lost 2 halftime leads. Texas Southern, very dangerous. Tournament tested. They can get it done. So, the one thing about it, when you get to the tournament action, wipe the slate clean, 0-0. And somebody mentioned 3-point shooting. I know when you get in the tournament action, that's important, but you live by the 3, you die by the 3. Which team will establish that inside presence first? And then 3-point shooting is complementary of that. Wheeler talked about the basic things, the fundamental things, all of that you have to incorporate into it. But the team that has been the most consistent, not all the time, but in most cases, I think they right in the conversation. So,
And Carlos, I think on the men's side, I think Southern and Alcorn will give Grambling the most trouble. But I also think that if you're going to get Grambling, you need to get them early in the tournament. So while most people will probably say, I'd like to wait until the semis or something like that to take them on, I think that Grambling team, you get them that first game. If you get them at the beginning of the tournament, I think you can disrupt them and you can possibly come off with the upset. Whereas on the women's side, I think the closer that Jackson State gets to the title, the more antsy they become.
Yeah.
So I think you can get Jackson State on Thursday or Friday. But Grambling, I think you got to get them Monday and Tuesday. I think if they get by Monday and Tuesday, I think they're going to roll on.
Well, you're saying get them early.
Yeah,
the first round of the tournament.
State. I still go back to Texas Southern. I can't believe no one is giving them a chance. Coach Pettaway is getting ready to come in and join us in a second. But there we go. Well, he was there, but he's coming back.
I'm here. I'm here, fellas. I'm here. Coach, I'm happy to be here.
Coach Pettaway, I'm tough, but I sense they're trying to double team it today. But nobody's giving Texas Southern any. No, let me put it this way. They're not in the conversation, but I'm putting them in there.
On the men's side?
Yeah.
They
could
be in the conversation. They playing some of their best basketball down the stretch. They got a veteran team. They got a veteran coach. They got a championship coach. You cannot overlook that. Grambling this weekend is going to be a big test for them. Same with Southern, but Texas Southern, man, has been playing some great basketball now. And their only big game left would be that rival game with Prairie View. Man, other than that, I think they have found a balance coming down the stretch. Now, you can have balance without winning every game now. But they found a balance. They found a way. They've stayed in games. They've won games. And with Henry and some of those guys that have been there, I don't think you can count them out, man. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I understand. Charles, I agree. Texas Southern, I mean, the question was, who's the best matchup with Grambling State and Jackson State? women. So it's very interesting. Different opinions, but that's what this show is about.
Yeah, and I think on the women's side, until somebody can show me that they got the depth to stay with Jackson State, unless Jackson State just becomes complacent, talent-wise and depth-wise, I think they got the squad. The team that I thought would give them a problem was Arkansas Pine Bluff at Pine Bluff. And when that didn't happen, I don't see anybody stopping. I don't see another team Jackson State could stop themselves. They can stop themselves. I don't see them another team just beating them down.
Because the last two games, guys,
you have to do now. A lot of times, like in that tournament last year, the pressure got to Jackson State now.
Yeah.
In that tournament last year. So I'm thinking that they have learned from that mistake.
Well, you hope, but I'm just saying that, and I've even thought about this year, and even Coach Kilbert talked about it. You just wonder, are they bored?
Oh yeah.
You just, I mean, they've been dominant for 4 years now in conference. You just wonder, what can Coach Reed do to keep the motivation high? Now, I will say the last two games, they scored 52 against Bethune-Cookman, and they were in a dogfight with us last week until the last 2 minutes of the second quarter. So you wonder, does that light a fire under Coach Reed and say, look, we just can't half step it here and expect to be at a high level going into the tournament. So you just wonder, from that aspect of it, when you've had it so good in the regular season for so long, when does it become boring for you? And so now, I do think they're hungry. I do see a level of hunger, but in the tournament, none of that matters. You got to elevate your game even more. And then you assume other teams might not elevate as much. And I think that's not going to happen. I think every team in the tournament is. I mean, UAPB shorthanded. Who knows if they'll be full strength come tournament time? What motivation is that going to have for Coach Brown, who was challenging for the regular season most of the year? So I think Jackson State's got to raise it up a little bit more than what they have the last couple of games. And we'll see if that happens as you get ready for the tournament.
Right. But I think, Charles, playing against you all, that your ladies were just up. That's more of a rival because, it's in the state of Mississippi. You right down the road from each other. I thought your ladies probably elevated their game a little bit more and gave them that run. And that is to be expected when it comes to rival play. So I'm all for that, but I promise you, man, I guess the 7 or 8 times I've seen Jackson State this year, man, I don't see it. And like I said, the game that I thought would be a problem for them, Pine Bluff, and they were no match for them.
And it didn't have their best player. Wasn't she out, Green? Yeah. That's why I was saying I would like to see if they were fully healthy. May not make a difference, but
size wise, they with Davenport and the other young lady in there, they got size. I think they can match up. It's just the depth. What happens when Davenport goes out? What happens when the other young lady steps off the court, man? Who's going to back them up? Who's going to maintain what they were doing when they were on the floor? Because when Jackson goes to their bench, they can maintain, and in some cases, they elevate.
Yeah.
So that's why I say coaching is so important this time of the year. And when you're coaching those front runners, bottom line, you got to keep the foot on the gas pedal. I mean, part of you says it's been a long season. Let's slack up a little bit, try to get well, all that sort of thing. But, you gotta press the pedal down. You gotta push them hard in practice. You gotta let them know, look, we haven't accomplished anything yet until we cut down the nets. So we gotta push them. We gotta push them hard. Can't take any time off, that sort of thing. And, coaching plays the biggest part right now, at this stage of the season. So Coach Reed and those other guys, they're going to have to step up their game in terms of continuing to get that buy-in, that sort of thing. Letting these kids know, we ain't done anything yet. Until we cut down the nets, we haven't done a thing. So I'm going to push them, and if you're not working hard, and you need to sit down or what have you, then I'm not going to be afraid to do that either. And, we're going to keep it moving and close the ranks and keep it going.
Right. Hey, now, Carlos, I'm late to the party. Have you all discussed Mississippi Valley men winning their first game? Because I predicted that.
Yeah, and that's coming up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You all right?
Oh no.
I thought I had missed it because we were having problems trying to get me on, and when they finally released me, Carlos, they released me late last night, and the final words was, if I'm going to do my therapy and the surgery, I can go as pain tolerated. Oh, guys, I got to have a knee replacement. I ended up my knee locked up on me. And it was so bad they thought I was having a stroke on my right side, but it was just that my knee and the nerves had not locked up to where I couldn't move. So they rushed me to the hospital. So I got out. I went in Tuesday, and I got out late last night. And I'm feeling a lot better. They got me in a brace. I'm on a walker until the swelling and stuff can go down, and they can do the surgery. So I'm good, and I didn't want to miss. But first of all, I wanted to be on here today. And then this is the first time Alabama State is coming to the event center. And so I wanted to be here because we sort of owe them something. Charles, I don't know if I told you all this. When Alabama State opened their arena, they called me because they wanted an instant sellout, right? We were still Division II. They wanted to know, would I come down there and play? And I told them I would play if we had an agreement that when we built our arena, they would come open our arena, and they didn't. So we owe them something. I went down there.
Put it on them, Coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
A spanking is in hand.
Yep. I got bamboozled, man. I got bamboozled.
Well, you know what? I hope it's a 20-plus victory. I know you'll take a 1-point victory.
This time of the year, I'll just take 1 point victory.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Pettaway, to add icing on the cake, if you guys win and Alcorn beats Prairie View today, you all in the tournament. The top 8 will be set.
Well, they need that. They need that because I predicted that Valley would beat Prairie View because it was the last home game for George Ivory and Valley. And I say they want to win a game this year, and that's their best chance. that Monday game was their best chance, and it came off. They were able to pull it off.
Well, I think Perrin said, can Valley get a second win in the chat room?
It's over.
Oh,
it's over with. They did their best. Hey, look, they put all their eggs in a basket and pulled out without a TV.
Well,
he ain't gonna get it going back now unless Pine Bluff got some injuries now.
Valley still got to come here. Valley comes here Thursday. They go to Jackson Saturday.
They're not gonna beat Jackson. They're not gonna beat you all. And the only way they can get Pine Bluff is if Pine Bluff has had some injuries since their last game.
And it's and the conversation is very interesting going on in the chat room. I think EA wanted to know why Southern has to go into the Alabamas and then the tournament starts, so they'll just stay and won't come home. But that's right, as someone told them, that's just the way the conference sets up the schedule. Don't get me started because I've been trying, and Dr. McClellan and them are very tough. I don't want to get accused of tampering, but you remember I always joke about Southern playing Texas Southern and Prairie View, opening the conference season every year. So I guess I better not even try to challenge that the other situation with Alabama and them. But Coach Pettaway, we're glad you got released because I didn't think you were going to be able to join the show, and then I saw the text about getting you in. So we're very glad you're here, and we're glad that health-wise you're a little bit better, and we just love you to death. So I'm glad I'm glad you're here, and we all have things we have to overcome health-wise.
Definitely.
That's why I always talk about guys. You know, we're a little bit behind with the ladies. The ladies are always going to go and get themselves checked out, and they're proactive. I think we got to do a better job of that. Me included. With that being said, though, this conference season is coming down, and I think we said over the last few weeks it's going to come down to the last playing date. Coach Pettaway, I've been on the soapbox, and I talked to Southern alums, and I just tell them, yeah, you're disappointed that you lost to Grambling State again. You had a double-digit lead, but I can only speak for myself, and I tell them this: the expectations that Coach Johnson has had with his basketball team first year, they are ahead of the curve.
Yep.
They've done very well. They have 4 losses, but 3 of those losses could have been wins. So the best is yet to come. That's what I said. And to address the height situation, which is the concern, that'll happen with recruiting. But rebounding and free throws have been things that have hurt this Jaguar team. But we talk about consistency, and on the women's side, Jackson State, for all of, you can get them, slow it down. This strategy, they have been the most consistent, and they can lose in a tournament, but I doubt it. And on the men's side, I think it's more of, that you can, someone can maybe dethrone who's going to be the regular season champion. But until someone defeats Jackson State, I mean, we've kind of given them teams that can get it done. They are a strong, strong one. And maybe the team that can get a hold of Jackson State is the team itself. Being complacent. So, with that being said, I think it's going to be an exciting tournament. And we can expect maybe some upsets. Maybe. But the stronger
Carlos,
teams,
when you were talking about that travel, I think most schools would probably let the team go home. See, that's not a bad trip now from Baton Rouge to back to Birmingham. Let those kids go home and sleep in their own beds. Let them get into a routine, especially if you depending on what day you're playing in the tournament. If you're on the back end of the tournament, take them home, man. Let them home. Let them go home. Let them be comfortable. Let them be in familiar surroundings, and then bring them back up. Now, I have seen it. Like when the Texas schools had this swing here in Alabama, I saw where they stayed. They stayed. But when you look back at what they did, they didn't do as well in the tournament. They didn't do as well. So it says a lot about your kids being comfortable. Now, if they play well on the road all year, do it, because that is that they have demonstrated that they can get their act together on the road, and they are closer as a team on the road. So if my team was playing well on the road, then I'll be pushing. No, I don't want to leave Alabama to come back to the tournament. Make accommodations for us to stay here. I'll find a place for us to get our practices in, and then I would stay. But otherwise, I take them kids home, put them in familiar surroundings. And in Southern's case, they've played well at home, so that means they've been practicing well at home. So he's got a big decision to make.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting because it's, I do it in 5 hours. Well, I'm a speed demon because I'm going 59 all the way into Birmingham. But for the basketball team, I guess it's got to be, what's the best fit for Southern University. And by the way, Southern lost their first home game on the men's side.
Right.
Grambling State women, first time in, I think, 7 seasons. And Coach Simmons is a Baton Rouge native.
Okay.
And I was correct. She was a finalist when Coach Funches got the job.
Oh, wow.
So she's a little motivated.
Yep, that motivation's there.
And she's a little cocky, but that's Baton Rouge people.
And you need that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, she's Baton Rouge. She's a Baton Rouge native. So she's a little cocky. I don't hold it against her, and she's done I read somewhere where she's in the top 6 of first-year head coaches with wins.
Oh, that's
so
great.
kudos out to Coach Simmons.
Well, Coach Pettaway, let me ask you this question: does Southern play A&M second, or do they play them first? You know?
No, I think they come in here. No, they play them second. Second, yeah, they play them
Okay,
second.
so all right, so let's
they got
frame
Brandon
that.
Thursday, huh?
So Southern goes to Huntsville next Saturday.
Correct.
So you're talking about a long ride from Huntsville back to Baton Rouge, and if you're in that Wednesday, Friday bracket, you got to turn right around and come back to Birmingham. And Carlos, you and I have done the Baton Rouge to Birmingham trip, for Spike Media Day. It's an okay trip in a car, but on a bus, it's a little long. This is just me, because I'm about logistics and travel and comfort to a certain extent. If you're playing in Huntsville that Saturday, I'm finding a way to keep my team and make that 93-mile trek down I-65 South to Birmingham and be there instead of coming back home. Yeah. And I know some teams have done that just because this is it.
Yep.
There's no NIT, most likely. This is it. You put all your marbles in there to try to win this tournament. And if you got to make a 8-hour trip home and then turn around and make a 7-hour, 6-hour trip back in just 36 hours or whatever it is, that's tough.
I think you got to stay. And I'm one of those. I think you got to find a way to stay. And sometimes, Coach Pettaway, we as administrators got to save the coaches from themselves.
Right.
Yeah, because they have a tendency to overthink this thing, and let me get the kids back, or what have you, that sort of thing. But from an administrative point of view, sometimes you have to step in and say, let's look at this thing a little bit more logistically. I know you're looking at it with a rabbit's foot in one hand, that sort of thing, and but let's go on and find a way to keep these kids here and make sure that we have the best experience possible. Make sure that they're wanting for nothing. That we have practice areas, ready for them to, be able to take part in, that sort of thing. That they are eating at good restaurants, and the whole 9 yards. Just making the trip more agreeable, more amenable, for the kids, so that they're feeling better about staying on the road than they would have we taken them back home and them sleeping in their own bed.
Right. But see, A.D. Brown, I would never make that decision without consulting with my team. I get the pulse of my team. I get my committee together and say, hey, fellas, let's lay out the scenarios. This is what we got. What do you want? What do you feel comfortable doing? Now, if them kids say they want to go home, we coming home.
I heard that.
But if they say, Coach, let's stay, then that's what I'll fight to do. I wouldn't make the final decision. I would leave it up to my team, because they have produced for me all year, and I want them to know that I'm in tune to them.
And then A.D. Willa Brown, I need you to have the resources available, which I know.
Oh, no doubt. Got to.
If they want to stay.
Got to, no doubt.
Yeah.
No
18 to 22-year-old kids, student athletes, you'd be surprised how creative they can get. And,
right.
We're older. We couldn't make that turnaround trip.
Right.
But they're resilient, those youngsters.
Yeah. And then see, like in Birmingham, I know Coach Johnson's got plenty of contacts. And if he doesn't, I do. I got former players who are coaches in the area. Birmingham Southern has always been amenable to the SWAC. Every time we had a SWAC tournament there, they've always opened up their facility for SWAC teams. So I don't know if he's aware of that. We've got a great relationship with them. So if any team that wants to stay, we got contact. We got people that can help them in Birmingham when it comes to a facility to practice and things like that. And then, of course, there are great restaurants all over Birmingham. And, with them being the second largest city in the state, they stay open pretty late.
And, guys, you're in a tournament mode at that point. All of the opponents. Everyone knows each other.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting in itself. So it's no strengths to learn. You know the weaknesses. It's about execution.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Pettaway, I believe Willer talked about, being fundamentally sound, the little things. When you're going into a tournament, is there? I'm not going to say intensity, because of course you coach in the regular season and the tournament. Is there a big difference, or do you go back to the things that have made you successful up to that point, and that's what you try to implement?
Right. Yeah, what you do is you try to tweak the things that have gone well during the course of the season. Then if it's something that's glaring that you need to work on that has not been successful, you spend a little time on that. But this time of the year, the biggest thing is giving those kids rest. You want to get them off their feet. This is a long grind. You do not want to be in no 2.5 hour practice. That's a death penalty. That's a death penalty for a team this time of the year. You get your shots up, you get your scout report in, get them kids off of their feet, man, because the most important thing right now is their health and them being able to put out, to maximize the energy that they have left in their bodies, because you're dragging at this time of the year, especially if you have not been cutting back in the month of February. If you still grinding them kids in February, you're not going to have it in that tournament. You're not going to have it down the stretch.
Well,
Landon Bussey talked to his team, Coach Pettaway, the other day. He said, guys, look, we only got about 7 more practices between now and the tournament. We only going about an hour and 10 minutes.
There you go. Give
me what you got
for that. But it got to be quality. It got to be quality.
Right.
It got to be quality, and you got to be spitting bullets. I mean, ain't no doubt about that. We got to get it done. We want to be here half the time, but we want to get in twice as much work.
It's going to be a productive half of the time. Yep.
Yeah.
And he's learned to back off a little bit. He's got Andre Payne, who was the head men's coach at Valley, who was number 1 assistant. And I think he's kind of got in his ear a little bit and said it's time to back off a little bit. And like he told his team, we only got 7 more practices before the tournament. We only going an hour and 10 minutes. Give me what you got for this hour and 10 minutes. We got film. We're still going to do that. But we're not out here grinding on this court like we did in November and December. Mm-hmm. So give me what you got. Stay focused. Stay locked in. And we can get somewhere. And I think that's the message that I think all these coaches at this point in time, are really putting to his team. Now, Gramblin's going for the regular season. You got A&M, Bama State trying to make the top 8. Lady Braves trying to make the top 8. Jackson's going to win the regular season. I mean, that's a little bit of drama. But otherwise, these other coaches that are in, you don't want to get anybody hurt.
Right.
You don't want to get anyone hurt at this time of year, because if you don't have your key guys or ladies, it's going to be tough to win the tournament.
Right. And then but let me tell you something that I learned when I was still in the SWAC. Do you realize that every team that had APR restrictions, they won a championship in that year? You know the one thing that all those teams had in their favor? Their practice time was reduced.
Right, because of
their practice time was reduced, so they didn't have them kids on the floor, and down the stretch, those kids were fresher than the other teams they were playing. Go back and check it. I told Mike Davis, I told Sean Wood, everybody that hit probation won a championship because they had those restricted hours. And it saved the kids' bodies down the stretch.
Interesting.
So that rest is very important. And then you don't want to push your kids too hard. Charles, I can remember we were getting ready for the semifinals at the SWAC tournament. My last 5 minutes of shoot around, game day, the last play, I said, let's run this play one more time. My starting point guard took a shot, came down on his teammate's foot. He hurt his ankle on the last play of my doggone practice. And man, I felt so bad. We didn't win the game. Bama State beat us. And it was because Burks could not play.
Wow.
That ankle twisted a few hours before the game, and he just couldn't give it to us. And I had to go with a backup that made some mistakes down the stretch. So injuries this time of the year, they come in big. It's big. So not only do you cut back on your practice, but you got to be careful about what you're doing in practice. But it was a normal scouting team play.
It happens.
Yep.
Point well taken. On that note, overdue for a timeout. Well overdue. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, though, I want to bring up, we'll have a little fun with basketball, both men's and women's team. Who has been the most disappointing team? Okay. And I will say, based on preseason's predictions, and who has done better, surprised you, exceeded expectations. Just kind of interested on that. And then we'll go with a swag basketball recap for last week. Also, Charles, at Alcorn State, I see a video. I'm going to be honest. I loved it. Coach Mo, Jackson State men's basketball coach, he lost it. I would have been the same way. The hat would have come off, the shirt, everything. I'm hot. Walk us through that. What happened? And, of course, Mississippi Valley State, of course, wins their first basketball game. We'll do all that when we come back. I'm intrigued by that. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, clean bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
You always gotta love the human jukebox. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Guys, predictions, reality, expectations. Those are some of the words when I think about the preseason predictions as far as men's and women's basketball in the conference. On the women's side, who to you has been the most disappointing? And that could be based on predictions or the eye test of what you've seen. I have a team in mind, and it's just me. I'm wondering, Coach Pettaway, Alabama State women.
Right.
To me, very disappointing, and from the outside looking
you're correct.
in.
You're correct. I agree with that. To me, Alabama State would be the most disappointing team for me. The most surprising team for me is Grambling State. I thought Grambling State women, they stuck it to everybody because they predicted them to be 8th, and they're currently in 2nd place. I thought they did a good job. And then if I had a disappointment B and C, it'll be Prairie View and Southern. Mm-hmm. That's the way I would see it on the women's side.
Yeah. And I remember having this conversation, and we won't get into it totally. Charles, you remember, and when Coach Pettaway talked about Prairie View and women's basketball team, you kind of remember that conversation? And we don't want to go into deep details, but Coach Pugh seems to just kind of be disappointed in the way college basketball is going. And, I don't know how much longer she's going to be there. Am I being messy, or am I opening up a can of worms? Am I opening up Pandora's box? I don't think so, but very disappointing as well. Charles, what say you on the women's side?
Well, I would definitely say Alabama State, but not as much on this as far as disappointment. Coach Frida Jackson's teams have been struggling. If you just think about it now, over the last 3 or 4 years, they have been on a downward trajectory. They've been used to being top 4, top 5, but for them to be where they are right now, not even in the picture right now. Right. 3 and 12. No way.
Well, can I ask a question, Charles? It just seems like only a couple of years ago, they took it to Southern University and they challenged Jackson State for the championship, fell short.
Yeah, they have. I agree with that, but I'm just saying, disappointment wise. I just got the sense, this is with my own 4 eyes
for this season. Yeah,
for this season, it's been disappointing. But I think even though they've had their runs and good stuff, but if you think about over the last 10 years where Alabama State women's basketball has been, as compared to where they've been over the last few years, it has been a bit disappointing. for Frida Jackson standards, for whatever reason. They've had the talent, they've had the height, they've had the depth, they've had everything they've needed. But yes, they've had their moments of good stuff. But for the most part, over the last few years, it's been disappointing. So, I mean, for whatever reason. But, as far as disappointment is concerned, I mean, yes, I'm with Coach Pettaway, Alabama State. And even I would even go as far as Prairie View. I'm with him on that. And yes, Carlos, to your point, I have heard some scuttlebutt about Coach Pugh. There's been scuttlebutt out there about it. It has not translated at Prairie View as what she did at Southern University. And I think, people are starting to gripe about that a little bit. And so Coach Pugh did mention about this new wave of recruiting and NIL and this other stuff. She mentioned that to me, how it's tough. And, but I still think Prairie View could perhaps do some good things in the tournament. They're sitting at 7 and 8. They're probably going to be stuck in that 6th seed. A&M is 9 and 6. So they're probably going to be stuck near the bottom of the bracket. But it has not been, it has been a disappointment on the women's side for Prairie View. So those are my two teams, Prairie View and Alabama State, as far as disappointment. I was expecting a little bit better. What done, but it hasn't translated at Prairie View. And then Alabama State, 3 and 12, couldn't see that one coming 10 miles.
Wheeler?
Well, I'm going to agree with the consensus and go with Alabama State in terms of being a disappointment. But as somebody said, they've been on a downward spiral over the last few years. So is it really that surprising? I guess would be the question. And my other team, I'm going to say Pine Bluff. Because early on in the year, they were beating some top quality people, that sort of thing, and they were sucking up all the oxygen in the room. And just seems like now, as we're heading to the last week or so, the chatter from their camp has kind of died down a little bit. So got me kind of wondering, what's going on over there. Are they ready to make a legitimate run, that sort of thing? So, those would be my two teams.
Well, I think we kind of all in agreement on that. Now, for the men's side, it's going to be interesting. My most disappointing, just based on one of the criteria predictions, and we all know it's one on the court. I'm going to say Alcorn State.
Yeah,
the men said, Coach Pettaway, you don't agree with that one.
No, I'm sorry. I can't. No, because look, when you look at it, they was predicted third in the preseason, and they're currently fourth. That's not a big drop off now.
But it's one off. It's a one off, Coach Pettaway.
Right, just one off. But if you look at what PV and Jackson State were picked in the preseason. PV was picked 6th. They're not going to even make the tournament. As we stand today, Jackson State was picked 4th, and they've dropped more than one spot.
They're 6th.
So to me, they would be more of a disappointment to me now than Alcorn State.
Well, Coach Pettaway, you've got me. I just kind of wanted to put that out with Alcorn State just to.
And they won 5 in a row, so they're one of the hottest teams in the league.
I just wanted to pick at Charles. So you caught me red-handed.
I agree. I agree, Carlos. I mean, it has not been, and I've been with this program all year. It has not been the type of year that Braves fans expect. We've lost 3 games at home. The transfer portal, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler Brown, the transfer portal giveth, and the transfer portal taketh away. The transfer portal hurt us this past offseason. We lost probably 40 points a game in scoring. Keandre Montgomery and Dominic Bruton. Dominic Bruton's at Cal State Fullerton. Keandre Montgomery was the last time I checked was at Tougaloo. Those two gave you 40 a game, and they were starting at one point. Right. So then you got 3 new coaches, 3 new assistant coaches.
And you dropped only one space. So why is that a disappointment? You dropped one place.
Charles,
fought all this adversity, and you only dropped one place. Come on, man.
Charles,
I think that's an outstanding coaching job. You're on a
you're
5-game winning streak. You're on a 5-game winning streak. That
right
is
now,
a coach that is rallying his troops.
Yeah.
So
but
now
if
the
you
Brave
look at,
Nation, they need to take a step back, man, and be thankful for where they are.
Oh, they are. They are.
Charles, take your spanking like I did. We've been caught. We've been caught with the facts.
and my surprise team, of course, is Bethune-Cookman. Their men, have they put them up in 5th place. I think they were picked like 8th or 9th. So Bethune-Cookman would be the surprise team on the men's side.
So you know what? Just from this little conversation, you look at the projections, but a lot of times they're just that. And you know how we always say it's going to be won through the competition. And so you kind of can see some of the predictions have been off by a good bit.
Yep, a lot. Yep.
Yeah, a lot. Some just a little bit. But that makes for a good discussion. Coach Pettaway, you got me red-handed. I have to admit. I mean, and if you take a look at it, Alcorn State, in spite of what Charles said and losing a lot, they're still in the discussion and they still have an opportunity to get things done. Now, do I have confidence that they will do it? They got a great coach, Coach Bussing. They'll be in the conversation. Grambling State men, they've been the most consistent to me. And that's what we talk about. And then we also talk about teams that can overcome some adversity. I think each team has had some adversity. Texas Southern, a slow start on the men's side. Watch out for them. Grambling State, three losses in the conference, all at home.
Right.
They win those games, they're undefeated. Oh boy, don't say that. coming into it.
Yeah.
Bethune-Cookman, no one's really talking a lot about them, but a very dangerous opponent.
Especially at their place.
Yeah,
especially
Southern found out.
Now.
Oh yeah. Now it'll be interesting to see what they do in Baton Rouge, right? And then in Baton Rouge, coming up, and then going to Grambling State. That's going to be tough. But we always talk about the team that's been the most consistent, that can overcome adversity.
Grambling.
They will be in the driver's seat.
And guys, I don't think you can ever slam those schools who are challenged from a budget point of view. Schools like Alcorn, I mean, if they're picked 3rd and right now they're in 4th, I don't think you can slam that.
Right.
Just based off of resources and, things that they don't have that, some of the other schools, like my disappointment would probably be Alabama State's men, who probably financially get the cream of the crop, the best of everything in terms of facilities, in terms of equipment, in terms of, monetary gains from a budget point of view. Those schools like that rank right up there from a budgetary point of view. If their performance isn't matching what they're being given from a dollar and cents point of view, then to me, Carlos, that's more disappointing than anything else. So I have to look at it. I have to look at it from that point of view. If I've given you a full complement of coaching staff, you got 3 or 4 full-time assistants, that sort of thing. You got the dollars necessary to get it done. 13 full scholarships or whatever the max is.
Yep.
Good recruiting budget. You're being able to travel pretty decently, staying in nice hotels, eating at nice restaurants, that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, you're not in the discussion, then, I have to take some issue with that. Definitely.
But now when you look at it, A.D. Wheeler, look at it now, all the things you just named, they were picked 8th in the preseason. They're currently in 8th. This is a second-year coach now. But I understand budget-wise and all of that. You hit the nail on the head. They got it. The finances is not a problem in Alabama State.
No.
What they need is a little consistency. This is coach's second year now. This is second year in preseason. They predicted him to be in 8th place. He's in 8th place. But this is what I think the problem is in the SWAC, Carlos. When the coaches and all of us and the SIDs have to do their predictions, we don't have enough information. See, I have never had what a coach has on his roster when they ask us to make our predictions. See, I don't know who's there. I can go by last year's roster, and that roster would tell me who is supposed to be there. But I've gone in there where many times who's on that roster from last year, they're no longer there. So in my thinking and my calculations, I got that kid being a special part of that program, and I might rank that program higher because I think there's certain players there. We don't have enough information that I think that to make our preseason predictions accurate. And now with the transfer portal and them leaving at midnight, it's tough to make a true prediction because you don't have your hands on that roster.
Well, Coach Pettaway, I'll say this, Coach Pettaway. I would say this. If I'm giving you the cream of the crop, if I'm fully funding you, even if it's just year 2, you need to be showing me something in terms of direction that's going to allow me to say that we're trending upward.
Well, in the last 3 weeks,
I understand it being a second year coach, that sort of thing. But, at the same time, those other things that I'm looking for, you got to show me something, and you got to show me more than you showed me the year before. If I have fully funded and invested in you totally, now I got to see some rise. And as we're going into year 3, which will be next year, it's time for me to be able to say that we're starting to turn the corner. And I don't know that the corner's being turned, from that point of view. Now, granted, I'm operating with limited information,
right?
But if I'm giving you everything that you need and want and gotta have, then you got to start giving me some of the things that I need and want and that I gotta have. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's got to sell this, to the unhappy alums who want to know why we're not getting it done, that sort of thing.
Wait a minute. A second
3 quarters of the season, you was in the top 4.
Wait a minute, and it's a second year.
3 quarters of the season, you were in the top 4, Charles.
Carlos,
no, I got chewed out for suggesting. Well, in the second year, it was a different sport, and now I'm hearing it.
I'm not saying that you should be knocking on the door of a championship, but what I am saying is that you should be walking down that block. You ain't got to be at the door. You ain't got to have the key. You ain't got to have groceries in your hand. But you need to be on that corner somewhere, to where I can feel that, we're a few houses away from getting in there and getting it done. That's all I'm saying, Carlos. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you, the coach's perspective, the administrative perspective, you just heard him. And then Charles on the journalist side. And I'm just trying to stay in the conversation, but it's interesting. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, I agree with both. I mean, I do think you have to feel somewhat good about selling your program to your fan base, to your stakeholders. So after year 2, what can you sell to your alumni and your fan base after year 2? When you do have the best of the best, and let's be honest, Alabama State, their budget is off the charts. Coach Pettaway knows that.
Yep.
You look at programs like FAMU, that's got pretty good budget. The Lawson Center is terrific. You got the Academics, terrific. And you look at FAMU, where they are, not going to make the tournament. So I agree that you do have to sell your program each and every year, and you want to be on an upward trajectory. And right now, Alabama State, they still have a shot to make the tournament. Now they do have some of the things going their way to make the top 8. But is this the type of year that Bama State fans expect to see? Even though we as voters, when I'm not a voter, there's only 2 types of voters in this thing: the SIDs and the coaches. That's it.
We've talked about
and as
that.
Coach Pettaway talked about it,
Yep.
I've advocated for years that we need to add some media people, some radio people that are looking at all these games, every game, to kind of help balance the ballot. But that's only a coach's decision. And I was told by the commissioner that if the coaches agree to it, it'll be enacted immediately. It won't even go to the presidents. That's one of those, I guess, low-hanging fruit type of things. But I would love to see someone like you, Carlos, who sees these games, or me, or these other, newspaper, Jim Klein, Peter, or others that see these games that can kind of give you a good ballot to see where things stand. Will that happen? I doubt it. I think the coaches are pretty set in their ways on that, but it's something I'm going to keep advocating, to where you can get a better projection from this kind of stuff. But I agree with you, Coach Pettaway, as well as Wheeler Brown. I'm in both camps. You want to see some progress, and this is just year 2. We'll see what year 3 brings.
I got to pick at Charles again. Charles is on both sides. Huh?
Yeah, I am on both sides. Yeah.
Speaking of that, Charles, you had a chance to witness Coach Mo Williams. Walk us through that. I guess he disagreed with a call, and the game went into overtime, and then it get blown out. But I must admit, from a fan perspective, I was very intrigued. He really lost it. I mean, lost it. What happened?
Well, it wasn't just that one call. It was calls on both sides. And I think Landon Bussey was about a step or a bad call away from letting the officials have it. But, when your team gets out of the hole and, you're winning in overtime, you kind of back off a little bit. But look, I've been asked this week about it. It's a bad look. Doesn't look good. You're being restrained by your assistant coaches. But, Coach Pettaway, you know this. From a coach's perspective, you fight for your team.
Yeah, you got to.
Jackson State took that game into overtime. The big fella with a layup to send it in overtime. It was a rival game. The 2 hottest teams in the league, by the way. The game of the week last week was Southern and Grambling. But the 2 hottest teams was Alcorn and Jackson State. And that was a rival game with all the trappings that you would expect. And so Mo Williams had been, yapping at the officials all game. And he just had enough. That one call just set him over the edge. He was obviously restrained, and people were just kind of, gnawing at him. But me personally, Carlos, unless he threw a punch at the official, which he didn't, you see this all the time with coaches in officiating. I don't have a problem with it. He was just fighting for his team. His team fought like heck for him. And so you get that. It happens all the time in the NBA. It happens at college games all over the country. I don't have a problem with it. If he threw a punch, that's over the line. But he didn't. Yeah. It was very highly charged, highly emotional game with a lot at stake. And so I don't have a problem with it. It was unfortunate. And the Braves just took it to Jackson State in overtime. 22 points in 5 minutes. I mean, they just took it to them. So, we may be looking at them again in the tournament. But in that moment, both coaches were really kind of gnawing at the officials back and forth. It was that type of atmosphere, that type of game, that type of environment.
And that's what it's supposed to be down the stretch.
That's the way it's
supposed to be there.
I don't have an issue with if Mo Williams threw a punch at the official or lunged at him, then hey, that's obvious over the line. But he didn't. He's fighting for his team like his team fought for him. And so I don't have a problem with it.
But
it just wasn't a good look, but I don't have a problem with the premise of it.
Yeah, they're supposed to speak. They got to be the voice for their team.
Yeah.
They have to be the voice for their team. They have to show those players that they're fighting for them, so that the players fight for the coach.
Exactly.
So that's acceptable. And I love seeing that in all coaches, whether they're young coaches or veteran coaches. It's the best thing going.
Yeah.
It's called passion.
Yep. You got to coach. If you want the players to play with passion, you got to coach with passion.
Yeah.
And that's what you see in the SWAC.
Yeah. I think because of the rivalry, Carlos, Alcorn Jackson State is as intense as it gets. Of course, who's ever on the losing side is going to get ragged about it. Social media aggravates it. So, I mean, hey, if
and
we
you
had
got all
lost.
these young guys in this league now. Who's
Yeah.
the longest tenure coach in the league is Prairie View? Smith, right?
Yeah.
Well, George, but he's been in and out.
Yeah.
Between George and Smith, you got all these young coaches in here, second year, third year, fourth year coaches. They're doing an outstanding job, man. The fans just got to be patient and give them a chance.
Yeah. And
They're not going to be
well.
Hey, look, they're not going. I'm a dinosaur. That will never happen again. Nobody will ever remain at the school for 25 years. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and speaking of passion, I brought it up last year, and I went and looked over the tape again. What do you think in this day and age, if that was Coach Chaney on that court?
Yeah.
Court. You remember when he went
right
went at Calipari, and that was after the press conference, and my goodness,
now that was over the line.
Yep. Now, hey, I am gonna have to get out of here.
Okay.
This medicine is wearing. I won't apologize for you all now. I know better than listen now. I know better than chew gum, but I tried to throw lozenge. My mouth kept sticking together, so I'm doing the gum just to get through this. And I want to thank you guys. Thank you for your prayers. I'll be ready, and I look forward to next week. Okay.
Take care, Coach. Definitely take care, man. Definitely take care.
No sweat, man. And my Bulldogs, we got to get this one today, Charles. We got to get it. We owe Bama State.
Give them a raw spanking. That's what you do. All right, Coach Pettaway. I was going to tell Coach Pettaway he doesn't have to apologize at all. We appreciate him being here. And, a lot of times because you love doing something, even when you're not 100%, if you can be there, you're going to be there. Also, through what's trending, communications now with the NCAA, coaches to players through the helmet. They're looking to add that. Also, iPads on the sideline. When you come off and you go right to the sideline, you can kind of look at plays, and then a 2-minute warning if you come out. So college football is starting to look a little bit more like the NFL. Willer and Charles, I think it's not a bad thing what they're trying to add as far as the NCAA and the rules committee. But now, with that being said, from a resource standpoint, how
that's
will it
it right there.
HBCUs to try to implement that? And let's just be honest, the NCAA, that rule does. It's more for your Power Fives.
It is.
Five. So I just kind of wondered how that will fit in, and I'm saying it that way. Maybe I shouldn't even say it that way.
No, but it's true, Carlos. It's who can afford it. Who can afford it. But at the same time, those are going to be issues where these conferences are going to have to step in, and these conferences are going to have to ensure that the playing field is level for all the schools in their conference. So you just can't depend on a Mississippi Valley to have all of the equipment that an Alabama State has, when, the budgets are apples and oranges. So it's going to be up to Dr. McClellan or whoever's at the conference office to make sure that, the revenue that, they're distributing to, the particular schools, that part of that revenue is going towards, those particular enhancements, to make sure everybody's on that level playing field. But I mean, you gotta have those things. I mean, I can't be sending plays in by hand, or Pony Express, and Charles is talking through his microphone to his quarterback, that sort of thing. So, he's got his play, and he's up at the line of scrimmage, and I'm still doing hand signals to my defensive captain, trying to get him to relay the defense and get our kids out of the huddle. So I mean, it's going to be it's a bigger picture there than
Mm-hmm.
just the individual schools. The conference is going to have to take the charge, take the lead in terms of making sure that everybody has the dollars necessary in order to get that equipment.
I
Well,
wonder what the cost will be.
right.
It's
Well,
going
yeah,
to
I
be,
mean,
I mean, you look at the fact when they was doing the instant replay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go back to that. Originally with the instant replay, they was leaving it up to the schools. But that definitely was not going to work. And I know, like in the MEAC, they started taking away from the allotment, and made sure that all the schools had the exact same equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You had some schools that bought Sony, some that bought JVC or what have you, that sort of thing. And, so the onus is going to be on the conference office to step in and make sure, like I said, that that playing field is level.
absolutely. I 1000% agree with Wheeler Brown. It took years for every SWAC school to have instant replay. It took
Mm-hmm.
years for that to happen. And to your point, about the new rules, of course, NCAA football is trying to mimic the NFL, 2 minute
Mm-hmm.
warning, the
Mm-hmm.
helmet communication, all that is to mimic the NFL. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going to go, and we just got to get ready for it. And in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the cost, again, to Wheeler Brown's point, the conference office, if I'm not mistaken, did help some schools purchase some of the replay stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
do think the conference office, will, if this is going to pass, I think that the conference office will probably try to help again if needed, to help these schools buy this equipment. Instant replay is not cheap. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking
Mm-mm.
about, I was told just the other day for us, I think a new replay system for basketball was somewhere about $30,000. We
Mm-hmm.
got it in football for our football stadium, but then for basketball, that system is about
Mm-hmm.
30 to 40 grand, depending on what you get. So it's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about helmet communications. How much is that? I mean, you can call an NFL team and find out how much that is. I'm sure it's a little bit cheaper. I'm sure with all these teams getting it, it'll probably be cheaper because of how many you're getting and the quantity, but that's not a cheap proposition. So that's another
No.
adjustment you'll have to make in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
if this passes. I'm sure they're going to give schools time to get that implemented. I don't think it's going to be something that you got a year to do it. Alabama can do it. LSU can do it. Clemson can do it. But can SWAC and MEAC schools do it that quickly? Probably not. So I think there's going to be time given to make those adjustments.
Well, can I be brutally honest? I think when this legislation, if it passes, they're not thinking about schools on this level. They really don't.
They
And it's
never
more so
do.
for right. So it never do. So with that being said, it's just news that came across the wire,
Yeah.
and the committee has to get it done. But we've often said it's the haves and the have-nots,
Mm-hmm.
and you see that not only in sports but society as a whole. So sports in collegiate athletics and sports, it's not in a vacuum, absent of what's going on and happening in society. It happens in the sports world
Mm-hmm.
as well. We'll take our last time out. I know the producer will. I'll be going to the timeout room. Melody, our producer, we're not hitting these breaks on time. We'll take a last break of today's show. When we come back, SWAC basketball recap from last week's action, Saturday and Monday. Get you ready for the schedule for Saturday and Monday. And then also, I still have to go through one more thing, and maybe, hopefully I'm not panicking, but Southern University baseball, it's still early. I can hear Charles saying now, it's early. The fans need
It's
to
early.
calm down.
It's early.
But
Relax.
with that being said, easier to say when you're not in the Jaguar Nation. But we'll put it this way: there are some concerns. Yesterday, 12-0 against Nicholls State. And if you look at the schedule coming up and you look at the games been played so far, I just note one quality win, and that was against Alabama State. So what you're seeing is this team is up and down. Let me get to the break. We'll discuss it when we come back. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Black College Sports Network, A.D. Drew here, along with the, do I still say GCAC? Well, until this summer, we're going to say the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference Commission, Dr. Kiki Baker Bond. If you haven't heard, we're going to get to that in just a moment.
We have been working strategically to figure out the best way to monetize championships.
When it comes to expansion, what are some of the future plans and strategic growth plans that you have for the conference?
Yeah. How do we utilize athletics to be the amplifier?
What's the significance of being a 2B league in basketball?
Well, one.
And take a look at this, y'all. You won't see this. You will not see this next year. If you haven't seen the press conference, if you haven't seen the tweet.
HBCUAC, we are the HBCU Athletic Conference where winners thrive. So HBCU Athletic Conference is where we're going. It's the place where winners thrive, and nobody does it better to me than those of us who are at HBCUs. We win in life.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Guys, swag basketball recap. We have about 10 minutes, so we're going to blow and go. Last Saturday, FAMU over Alabama State, 70-66. That's on the women's side. Jackson State over Alcorn, 62-54. Alabama A&M over Bethune-Cookman by 5, 63-58. It was Prairie View A&M, 66, UAPB 57. Mississippi Valley State over Texas Southern, 71-65. And, of course, Grambling State over Southern by 2, 59-57. Then Monday night, Alabama A&M over FAMU, 65-43. It was UAPB 81, TSU 62. Bethune-Cookman all over Alabama State, 84-43. Wow. 41-point victory. That's unacceptable. And then Prairie View A&M over Mississippi Valley State, 69-63. Coming up today, GSU and FAMU, Southern University hosting Bethune-Cookman, already started. Alabama State and Alabama A&M getting it on. UAPB hosting Mississippi Valley State. Prairie View A&M hosting Alcorn State, and JSU versus TSU. Charles, on the women's side of Circle Valley over Texas Southern, 71-65. And then last Monday, of course, Alabama A&M over FAMU 65-43. FAMU had been coming in a pretty high team, but now, a couple of losses to Jackson State, now to Alabama A&M. As we stated, JSU, number one in the conference on the women's side. The rest has to play out. Who gets the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth for seeding purposes?
Yeah, I think on the women's side is Jackson, and I think Grambling will probably sew up that 2 seed. UAPB, Southern. I put Alabama A&M a dark horse, but I think, right now the battle I think is third, fourth, fifth through eighth. I think that's where it is on the women's side.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Southern ends up a 4th seed or a 5th seed. That 4 and 5 is literally even.
So pretty much the same, yeah.
But guess what? Yeah, but guess what? You win that game as a 5th or 4th seed. You know who you get next.
Yeah.
Attack Jackson State. And that's kind of how it was last year. And Southern was able to upset Jackson State, but and then this year in their
But I think I say this again, Carlos, I think that's where you want to be.
Right,
but that's where you want to be. I think you can get Jackson State in that second round. I just believe you can.
Easier said than done, Willa Brown.
I believe you can. I believe that 4-5 matchup, okay, that's going to be the biggest drawback for when they move to play Jackson State. I just believe that.
Well,
I think whoever wins that 4-5 matchup has got a good chance to beat Jackson State that next game.
Duly noted.
I just believe that.
Duly noted, and I was going to say, and then based on earlier, Southern was leading Jackson State at the half, and a tremendous comeback for Jackson State. That's one team I think that does not fear playing Jackson State. I'll leave it at that, but I will say they are consensus number one, and until proven otherwise, I'm going to throw out an early prediction. Jackson State women will win the women's basketball tournament. Can I be wrong? Yes. Is there a possibility I could be wrong? Yes. But until proven otherwise. All right. Charles, you have something to say about that?
No, I'm gonna hold up on that one. I'm kind of leaning on it. I'm kind of leaning. Look, I like what Coach Reed has done. Her record is impeccable in conference. The tournament's a whole nother animal. We saw that last year. And so again, and I think Jackson State's they're deeper, but they're a little bit more vulnerable this year than they've been in years past. So I agree that second round matchup right in the middle of that bracket could be Southern and Jackson again in the semifinals. It all depends. And one little caveat: don't forget about the Lady Braves, who've been left for dead until the last few weeks. They went out, and they may get Jackson State in that first round game. And it was a close game for the most part the last time these two teams played, and we talked about it in the last hour.
So you really believe Alcorn would have a shot? I think Alcorn played their best game of the year against Jackson State. And I think Coach Pettaway made a great point. It's a rivalry game, so they're going to be up for it. But I still say Jackson State. Am I trying to set them up? No, I really believe that they have proven they have been very consistent. Let me move on. On the men's side, I circled Alcorn State over Jackson State. Score can be deceiving in overtime. And I look at the chat room, 22-5, 22 points in 5 minutes. That should tell you something, but I digress. Congrats, Alcorn. That's a JSU guy who believes that officiating was not up to par. But, you can't criticize officiating. I do, and I will. And nothing can happen to me. Just my opinion. But, the coaches can probably get fined or get a reprimand.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
I I asked Landon Bussey about that on the show the other night,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Hey, as a coach, you fight for your team." And I think Coach Bussey was an inch away from doing that himself, but his team got hot, 22-5 in overtime. So of course he's not going to do that. But it was some questionable calls on both sides, and even Coach Bussey admitted that, hey, you stand up for your team. That's what Coach Williams did.
Mm-hmm. And yep, we did talk about it. You're absolutely right. FAMU over Alabama State, 73-65. Bethune-Cookman over Alabama A&M, 63-61. It was UAPB over Prairie View A&M, 72-59. Of course, Grambling State over Southern, 63-57. And Texas Southern over Mississippi Valley State, 73-52. Then last Monday, Bethune-Cookman over Alabama State, 90-84. It was Texas Southern over UAPB, 77-70. FAMU over Alabama A&M. Wow, 76-58. And then Mississippi Valley State over Prairie View A&M. First win of the season. Mississippi Valley State. Coach Pettaway says that could be their only victory of the season. And got to give a shout out to the broadcasters for the Mississippi Valley State network. Young guys do a great job, and they look. That's the way you do it. If you tune in, it was like they had just won the conference championship. Good job, guys. Special shout out to those young men. Of course, the women and the men, the same schedule. Charles, quickly, we got about 3 minutes left. Yeah, Brian Fulton says, "Go Valley." What game interests you today?
I'm looking at that Jackson State Texas Southern, game. I'm looking at to see if, well, first of all, I'm looking to see if the Braves stay hot. Secondly, I want to see if Southern University can get off the mat. Because that 2 seed is very much up for grabs. The Braves have a shot at it. Texas Southern has a shot at it. Of course, Southern has a tiebreaker over Alcorn, but Texas Southern has a tiebreaker over Southern due to 1 point. So I don't know if the seeds matter right now, but Southern University, they've excelled. I want to see if they want to hang on to that 2 seed and get back on track. So those are the 2 games. And look, Prairie View, this is their last stand. If they lose and A&M wins, we've got our 8 teams on the men's side. So there's some jockeying or positioning left, and I'm anxious to see here with 1 week left to see how that shakes out.
We got 1 minute left, Willer and Charles. Let's close out the show.
My my thing, or my pet peeve, I guess, for this week is the football coach at North Carolina Central. He called out the HBCU legacy folk because his quarterback got hurt during the game, and he wanted to know why the coaches from that particular team had his quarterback running, to try to score a touchdown, that sort of thing. And he kind of used some words that were unprofessional, calling the coaches buttholes and, all that sort of thing. He never would have let his kid play, things of that nature if he knew that they were going to run his kid. My thing is, football is football. Kids are going to get hurt. That's a chance that you take. I just thought it was very unprofessional on the coach's part, to chime in like that. So I just wanted to bring that to the table. I don't know if you guys have heard about it or not.
Yeah, and he did come back on Twitter and apologize for being too emotional. But that's Coach Trey Oliver. Quickly, Charles.
Hey, couple weeks left. Let's get it on in the swag.
And I'm going to be very quick. I will be flying into Miami to talk with Pat Riley, but hey, they've been doing a little bit better. They went 4-1, 5-1 on this recent road trip. Lost to Denver the other night, but hey, keep watching. Thumbs up for the show. Hit the notification. Want to thank all of our guests, and hopefully Melanie is not too mad at me. Until next Saturday. And Melanie, by the way, is the producer of the show, and she has a show on the network. I found out. She didn't tell me. I'm truly hurt. Truly hurt. but check our show out. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m., peace and God bless.